If you want some FIFA 23 coins, please check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're fast, cheap and reliable, and if you use code Rema you can get yourself a 5% discount. What's up guys, my name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video. I wasn't going to post today because I'm not feeling too well. I'm not going to go into that too much, but yeah, I can't really talk that well at the moment and I've got a banging headache, so you know, sorry if I don't sound my usual self in today's video, but I wanted to get a video out for you guys anyway. In today's video guys, we're going to be looking at the 4-3-2-1 again, and I'm going to be showing you some custom tactics and player instructions that you can use with this formation. I have been trying it out the past couple of days and it has been pretty cool, so you know, I thought I'd show you guys and see if you guys like it. But yeah, with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. Okay guys, so for defensive style I suggest you use balance. This is because you can press when you want to press and drop off when you want to drop off. Balance gives you better control of your defenders, which you don't get with the pressure tactics, which is why I think it is very good to use. If you guys want to use the pressure tactics, that is completely up to you, but I do suggest balance for a better overall experience when you are defending. Now for defensive width I suggest 42 because this is a narrow formation and people do like to play very narrow anyway, so you do want to keep a nice defensive narrow shape when you are defending. So when you have your width on 42, you can look at the defensive line on the diagram in the bottom right and you can see we defend very narrow, but we also have that width to cover the wing if people do want to go down the wing. So it's primarily good at defending narrow attacks, but it can also cover you down the wing also. Now for defensive depth guys, I suggest 48 or something around this number. This is because it's important to lower that depth after the recent updates on FIFA 23. This is because the over-the-top through balls with the explosive and control players are extremely broken now. They weren't too bad before the updates because obviously it was only lengthy players and your defenders would be able to catch people up. That's why you could use a higher depth, but after these updates it's important to lower that depth, otherwise it's very difficult to stop those over-the-top through balls unless you do have the very overpowered defenders like Lucio or Maldini, in which you could up your depth if you wanted to, but I suggest lowering that depth for now guys. Now for build-up play I do suggest balance. This is because it gives you the most control when you are building up the play. In some formations like the 4-2-3-1 I like to use fast build-up, but in formations like this I think balance is better because it does give you more control. Sometimes if you use fast build-up in these formations your team loses its shape and it doesn't function too well, so I like using balance as it gives you better control. Chance creation, as always guys, direct passing, because if you look at the diagram in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, it's the only one which gives you the correct movement out of your players. It's the only one where your attackers will make those dynamic runs in order to penetrate the defensive line. If you look at something like balance, this doesn't really happen, so I suggest using direct passing as it is very good on the new gen version of the game. If you are on old gen you could just swap this to like balance if you wanted to, but for new gen direct passing is by far the best guys. Now for attacking width, because this is a narrow formation we actually have this on 40. This is because we don't want our players going too wide, otherwise it's more like a 4-3-3 and we don't really want that because it is a 4-3-2-1. So lowering that width means the formation does actually play to what it should, instead of it having wingers instead of the central forwards, if that makes sense. So lowering that width is very important in this formation. For players in box I do suggest having this on about 6 or even maybe 5 in this formation, because you do want to get players into the box but you don't want to overcommit your team to the point where you're vulnerable to counterattacks. It is down to preference, but I suggest about 6, 5, 6, 7, it's up to you guys, but I just have this on 6 most of the time and it works very well for me. Corners and free kicks are also down to preference. I suggest having them on about 2 because you do get players into the box but you don't overcommit to the point where you get counterattacked very easily. So again, down to preference, but I suggest 2 on each. Now for the players you want to use guys, in the striker position you can pretty much use whoever you want to, but I do suggest somebody that has a bit of ability to do everything. So I'm using Robbie Keane as he is able to dribble, shoot, pass, hold up the play, you know, he can do a bit of everything. He's got that 5-star weak foot. It's up to you who you want to use, but I like using a very well-rounded striker because we have to compensate for only having 1 striker opposed to 2 in this formation. So I like to have a striker which is able to do a bit of everything, but again it's down to preference. If you want to use a lengthy player, if you want to use a smaller, more agile player, that's completely fine. It's down to preference. I just suggest going for someone that can do a bit of everything. For your two like central forwards, I don't know what we can call them, like we're going to call them forwards, your centre forwards. I suggest having like players that are explosive or controlled, players that can be technical on the ball, players that can shoot, similar to your striker, players that are very good on the ball. So, you know, I'm using Leao and Chiesa. They're more like wing players, but they work very well in these positions. You want to use players that can obviously run with the ball, they can pass, they can shoot, you know. You just want very nice, well-rounded forwards, essentially. Now, for your right centre mid, I suggest a box-to-box player, so I'm using Park Ji-sung. This is important for when we get to the player instructions. You're going to want this player to have like a high work rate, because again, you're going to see how they attack and defend. You're going to want them to have very well-rounded stats as well, from attack, pace, defense, passing, all sorts. So you just want like a nice, well-rounded player in this position. You know, somebody like Renato Sanchez works very well. Now, for your central centre mid, you're going to want a player that is more defensive. So I'm using Patrick Vieira. You want somebody with like a medium-high work rate, preferably, because these are going to be more of like a stay-back player. You don't want them to get into the attack, because that is not their job. This version of Patrick Vieira is a medium, but because he has very good defensive stats, it doesn't really matter too much. Now, for your left centre mid, I actually suggest going for more of an attacking player, but it's important that this attacking player has a high work rate, because again, you're going to see how important it is for the defensive transitions. So Phil Foden is a high player, but obviously he's very attacking minded also because of the stats he has, but the defensive stats don't matter when you have that high defensive work rate in this position. I can guarantee you guys that. Now, for my left back, I suggest having a player which is more like good on the ball. So I'm using Theo Hernandez, because, you know, we're going to see how this player actually contributes to the attack in the player instructions. And then for your right back, I suggest a more defensive player. So I'm using Kyle Walker, you know, somebody that is more solid at the back, because again, you're going to see how this all fits together in the player instructions. Your two centre backs need to be as meta as possible. I'm just using Varane and Van Dijk at the moment, and your goalkeeper is down to preference. So at the moment, we're just using Wojciech Szczesny. For the player instructions, guys, on your striker, I suggest stay central and get him behind. This is because we don't want him drifting wide, as that is not his job. We want him to stay in those central positions as a striker. So stay central means he'll stay in position. Attacking runs on getting behind just means he will make the best movement. It doesn't always mean you have to play the ball in behind. It just means your player will move better. And let's say you want to call him short, you can just tap R1 to do so. So you just get better overall movement out of your striker with this setting on. Now, for your left forward and right forward, I just suggest stay central, but with Chiesa, my right forward, I suggest come back on defense as well. This is because of the way the 4-3-2-1 can actually defend. It will defend more like a 4-4-2, and I'm going to explain more how this works, but it's important to have your right forward on comeback on defense. So stay central on left forward and right forward, but come back on defense on the right forward as well. So you're going to see how Chiesa joins the midfield line to defend in a 4-4-2. Now, for your right centre mid, your box-to-box player, I just suggest cover centre, because we don't want him to stay back while attacking, because we do need him to contribute. So balanced attack means he is able to attack and defend, and like I said, that high work rate goes very well with this instruction. Cover centre just means he will cover the central areas, which is important. Now, for your middle centre mid, the more defensive one, I just suggest stay back while attacking and cover centre. This is because, again, we want him to stay in the middle when breaking up the play, because we don't need him drifting off to the wings, and we want him to stay back while attacking, because his job is not to attack, it is solely to defend. So Vieira and Park Ji-sung both cover centre, Vieira on stay back while attacking. Now, Phil Foden, the more attacking player, the left centre mid, I suggest get into the box and cover wing. Now, the reason we have get into the box for cross is because, like I said, this is a more attacking player. We need them to contribute to the attack a little bit more. So Foden will actually work very well to get himself into those positions. We have balanced attack because obviously we want him to attack and defend. And the reason we have him on cover wing is because, like I said, this will defend as like a 4-4-2. So you're going to have your back line as normal, and then you're going to have like your left centre mid, your right centre mid, and your right forward defending in a 4-4-2. So right mid would be Chiesa, Park Ji-sung would be right centre mid, Vieira would be left centre mid, and Foden would be left mid. So you can see how this actually functions as a 4-4-2 defensive shape. The reason we do this is because it is better to defend this way than in like the natural 4-3-2-1. It gives you better like defensive solidarity, which is why we do that. So it's just important you guys do get these instructions correct. Now for your left back, like I said, you should have a more attacking minded player, not just attacking minded, but somebody that is good on the ball. Like Hernandez can obviously defend, but it's important that you have somebody that can attack in these situations. So we have him on balanced attack and overlap. This is because I like to use him as a way to get extra width in this formation. You guys don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I like to have the extra option of more width in this formation. So I have him on balanced attack and overlap, but again, it's up to you. If you want to put him on stay back while attacking, that's absolutely fine. And for my right back, I have stay back while attacking and overlap. This is because, like I said, Walker is a more defensive player, and I like to keep him back when I am defending to give extra support. But we have overlap because when we do trigger him forward, we do want him to overlap opposed to underlap. So yeah, they are the player instructions, custom tactics, whatever you want to say for this formation. If you guys have enjoyed this video, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.